I'm giving you an expo, a cheat code. The part of our duties, part of HR manager's duties, part of a recruiter's duty is actually to get a good candidate at a very low cost to the organization. So when you say things like, oh, whatever the organization is willing to offer for the role, what you're telling the employer is that, oh, well, I don't place so much value on what I have, so I'll take whatever you give me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I'll go ahead now to give my feedback.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so let's start from your introduction. When an interviewer tells you, tell me about yourself, I like the fact that you didn't go the route a lot of people normally go, that is start telling you, I'm the third child of 5 kids, my parents are still living in Edo State, and all those personal stuff. So when an interviewer asks you or tells you to tell them about yourself, they want to know more on your professional life. So I noticed that you spoke about where you served and what you did, how you worked as a teller, but you did not focus on the quality of experience. You didn't say, oh, while I worked as a teller, I was responsible for this so and so duty. I was responsible for carrying out transactions. Do not assume that the person asking you questions know what you've done. Oh, yes, everybody knows what a teller does, but do not assume that. So the function of a teller might differ from organization to organization, might differ from bank to bank. So next time when an interview tells you to tell them about yourself, focus on the quality of experience, what you did. And because what you did as a teller has an indirect correlation to it's actually not indirect, it's direct correlation to servicing customers. It actually places you to be a good fit for that particular role because you interface with customers day in, day out as a teller. So you want to focus on the things you did. Then also your questions, you did not relate them to your experience. So I asked you, what do you think a good customer service agent should have? While you were giving those answers, there was no time you said, oh, this was evidence when I worked as a teller in Access Bank. I was able to be a good teller because I had good communication skills, good interpersonal skills. So at every point in time, always put it back to the interviewer for them to know that you have experience in this kind of thing. If I did not know about your experience, if I had missed, if, for example, if it was a panel interview and I had missed the first part of your interview where you had said, oh, you worked as a teller, and I had come in later in the interview, I would have assumed by answers, I would have assumed that you had no experience at all, which is not the case. And then also, pay expectation. A lot of people, actually 95% of candidates that have come before me in interviews, when I ask them, what's your pay expectation? They go the route you went. Oh, I'm sure the organization has a pay structure. Yes, we have a pay structure. But I'm telling you this, I'm giving you an expo, a cheat code. The part of our duties, part of HR manager's duties, part of a recruiter's duty is actually to get a good candidate at a very low cost to the organization. So when you say things like, oh, whatever the organization is willing to offer for the role, what you're telling the employer is that, oh, well, I don't place so much value on what I have, so I'll take whatever you give me, which is wrong. That is a very bad perception to actually give your employer. You are sure, when you are sure of what you owe, when you're sure of the value you have as a professional, when they ask you, oh, what do you expect to pay? Well, my pay expectation is 150,000 naira net. However, I believe that the organization would have a structured pay great for this particular role. I would like to hear what the organization has in mind, and if it is something that does not align with my expectation, we can always come to a compromise. What you're telling the recruiter by that is that, hey, this is what I want to earn, but I know that you guys may not have up to that or may not budget for up to that. Let me know what you have in mind, and then we can negotiate. When you tell an employer that you're letting them know that you are open to negotiation. But when you tell an employer whatever is available for that role, I will take it. You are telling them, hey, give me whatever you want. And truthfully, they will give you whatever you want. That is why a lot of times people would realize that the same people, they're on the same level with their colleague, they are doing the same work, but their colleague is earning more than they are earning. It's not because the company was being partial or anything. It was because your colleague was able to negotiate better, was able to sell themselves better in their interview. So that's it.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, Audrey. So my feedback, number one, if you were sitting before me in a serious interview, I wouldn't make the decision to hire you, because number one, I couldn't feel the passion for the role that I wanted to apply for. It felt almost as if you were forced to have the interview, which was why I kept hammering on why administration. It felt as if you didn't have passion for the career. So that is even enough for me to say, oh, okay, I'm undecided about this candidate. So if you are, whenever you are interviewing for a role, whatever answers you're giving, let it be very, very clear that, oh, this is something I want. And even when I asked that, oh, why administration, you were not so keen on it. If I would hazard a guess, I would say you are much better in sales and marketing, because from your first question, from your second answer, you had said that, that you had applied for a sales role only for you to be interviewed for an admin role, and then you've done marketing as well. So I would say you are better fit for a sales and marketing. But even at that, whatever the role is, you have to be able to show the passion, the zeal for that role, or else, even if you are given the best answer, it will just come off to the recruiter as, oh, this person will not be enthusiastic about his work. That's the major. So you need to actually find a way to fix that point. That's the major. The body language was not giving up for. So that's basically all and then, yeah. So the question that I asked last about what you would ask yourself is so basic. What you gave me as a question is so basic. Anybody will tell you, yes, I can deliver. So it's basic and vague. When a recruiter asks you something like that, you want to tell them, oh, I would ask myself, what was the biggest project you handled? That is actually a moment for you to shine and brag as much as possible, because you are that moment. As the recruiter, anytime I ask my candidates that, I ask them the question back. So you've said the question you would ask yourself to answer the question. That is a moment for you to brag. You could have said, oh, I would ask about the biggest project the candidate has handled. I could ask about their biggest career achievement so far. That's the moment for you to shine and brag. So please take note of this thing.
I will. Thank you very much.
Well, I'll just like you to give a general feedback for everyone in the class. Just a few minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, number one, like I said earlier, tell me about yourself. Keep it strictly professional. Two, when you're asked questions, specific to the role. If it's the role you have experience in, always relate your answers back to the experience you've had. Always be able to give a reference point back to the experience you. Always be vocal with you if you're expected of the role. So job descriptions differ from organizations to organizations, but there are always generic job descriptions. Be sure of, and there are some recruiters now that they send you the JD of the job you are interviewing for before the interview so that you can prepare. So read it, know more about the role, know about the organization as well, and then don't be nervous. When people ask me for an interview tip, I always tell them, imagine you are in front of people that you want to shout your greatest achievements to. What would you be? You will be proud. You will not be nervous at that moment because you are talking about your greatest achievement. So always go into interviews with that mindset. There is no interview that I go into that I would smile. I would act as if I'm the one interviewing the person at the end of the day because I'm very, very confident of what I'm doing. It's not an easy place to get to, but gradually work together. Be confident with what you know. If you are confident with what you know, then it is easy for you to call your pay expectation and for the employer to see the value that you would bring to the table.